All right. Good evening, fellow TFFL owners. It is Wednesday, October 28th, 2015, and we are looking ahead to Week 8 TFFL action. We are not quite in the stretch run, but now squarely in the back half of the season. I'm Stick, managing editor of TFFL Media, leader of the Aliens, joined as always by our two-time defending champs, our still undefeated Jack's Giant Killers, Berto.
Hey, Stick.
We got our commissioner, TFFL commissioner, and skipper of the Sponge Fishermen, Chief.
Good evening.
Hank, czar and CEO of the K-Wheels.
Good evening. I'm just realizing as we go around the table each week that I really have no purpose in being here other than I was part of the initial discussion of putting this together. So I'm just happy to be here.
Hey, none of us know how to push all the right buttons to connect.
That's right.
Yeah.
You certainly can't put that in Berto's hands.
That's right. Well, yes.
I want no technical responsibilities.
You shall have none. No. Proven you can't handle it.
And I'm in IT.
God, that's scary.
Maybe that's why I got fired. Anyway, that's another topic.
And let me introduce our special guest, his first time ever on the TFFL webcast. What's your title on the Hormel hams? The head cheese?
Head cheese.
Head cheese of the Hormel hams. Michael, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, so we're going to talk a lot about what's coming up in Week 8. We'll do our usual quick look back to Week 7. But before we get there, let's kick things off as we always do with TFFL trivia. Michael, I hope you've been playing along at home as a listener.
Yep, I've gotten everyone right so far.
Good.
You're the only one.
Liar!
All right, so these are getting tougher to put together every week, but we'll have some fun with this one. So I don't know about you, but I always really cringe at the possibility of recording one of these 25 points or below performances that get logged in the TFFL archives. It's more important to me not to get on that list than it is to get on the list of 100-plus point performances. I'm sure a lot of us feel that way. Over our 18 years of modern-era competition, every single franchise has recorded at least one 25-point or under performance. 3 franchises, though, have only stumbled that badly just once in our entire history. 3 franchises, they're so steady, so well-managed week to week, that they're almost always in it. They're going to at least have a chance if the other team stumbles, except for once, under 25 points. I'll give you a point for each team you can name and a bonus point if you can name all 3.
Wow.
Think about that. Scribble them down.
That's great. That's great.
Excellent question.
Answer coming later in the show.
Now, does that also count previous regimes? So, like the Fever.
No, it does not.
Okay.
These are active franchises. Good question. All right, so real quick, let's jump into our roundtable chat here. Look back a little bit at Week 7. Again, another late Monday night finish. Chief, I'm sorry. John Brown puts the Devils over the top in the fourth quarter. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment. There's a lot to talk about with the Sponge Fishermen this week. A big trade this week. But first, let's just sort of set the stage for where we are. It's finally the time of year where we get some graphics. Hank, why don't you give us a quick rundown of the standings and the playoff picture?
Okay, happy to. So yeah, we're still early, and we're just starting to sort things out. But I kind of just broke down each of the conferences, and so I'll just throw this up on the screen here. We'll just take a look at the Northern Conference first. As mentioned, the Giant Killers are just crushing it. I mean, they're 7-0. They've got a 3-game lead on the conference through 7 weeks, and that's impressive. Congrats to Berto. So he keeps it going. Even if he goes 3-4 or 3-3 on the way in, he's all set, and he's probably all set if he goes 2-4. So Berto's looking good. In the mix, your division, whatever it is, the East or the West, the Lizards, Fats, Aliens division is a mess. They're all 4-3. They all have games remaining with each other. They're all 1-1 against each other. So there's a lot to be decided there. And I'm just putting myself on there, just as I'm holding on and hoping to get hot and string some wins together. And we're not out of it yet, but not looking good. Ampac, on the other hand, have checked out. They're 0-7. They're trading actively. They're looking to next year, so we won't consider them. Moving to the Southern Conference, we got two teams at the top that are looking pretty good. The Senators have a 2-game lead in the division, and the Mongols are the highest scoring team in the league, and they've been looking good. Their matchups have not played to their benefit as much, but they're looking good. And then the Beavers, Devils, and Hams, and the Hams are the games that's 2 games back of the Senators, but they're all definitely still in it and definitely winning. The Sponge are the team that needs to win now. I'm not calling them out of it yet, but they're they got to get into it if they're going to make the wild card. Chief may feel otherwise because it's a tough climb, but there we go.
That is a great graphic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So somebody said earlier, what the odds, the impossible odds would have been on predicting a Senators 2-game lead, at this point in the season. Could you have predicted that my division would look this good? I mean, we're not only all 4-3, but I think all playing fairly well. The Fats, the Aliens have had a couple of bad weeks, but for the most part, these are 3 good teams. And yeah, we all play each other. This one's going to go down to the end of the season. All right, the big thing that happened in Week 7 on the field was the Arian Foster injury, and so I want to ask a 2-part question here. He's obviously done for the year. How much of an impact does that have on a 7-0 Giant Killers team this year? And I think we can easily forecast. I think. That he's probably not going to be a keeper for them going forward. Berto, we've talked about it, drafted a lot of older players this year, had a lot of older players to begin with. Without Foster, what does this team start to look like in 2016 and beyond?
Is that open to anybody?
That's open to anybody.
Well, I think he needs to trade for Alfred Blue.
I tried already a couple weeks ago.
For Nick Falk.
You asked an outrageous price.
Well, it doesn't sound too outrageous now, does it?
He's not. He's gonna. It's like gonna be a disaster there. The rest of the backfield. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big blow for depth for the Killers, certainly. It's a team that's not very deep to begin with, so losing Foster is pretty tough at this stage of the season. But he is 7-0, so he's gotten this far without him.
He's basically got 2 running backs. I mean, he's got all the Seattle running backs, but let's count that as 1, because he's only going to start one of them in any given week, and he's got Jeremy Hill.
And he's got Gronkowski.
And yes, he's got Gronkowski. So this is obviously why he's 7-0, but that's it. I mean, with bye weeks, if any injuries happen from here on out, there's nobody to fall back on.
You know who else he has? He has a 1st and 2 second-round picks. That's who else he has.
Yep.
Yeah, he does. I want to give Berto some credit because he loses Arian Foster, one of the best running backs in football, not one of them, and he's still 7-0. He's still not still the favorite going forward. And yes, Gronkowski and the Seattle trio probably give him some pretty solid comfort, as long as they don't have a mid-game injury or something in Seattle. That he's gonna be pretty solid there going through. It's obviously a tough blow, but Berto's been rolling with it, and I see no reason why he won't continue to.
I'll just make a couple comments about this. So Foster was out for the first 4 games or whatever, so I was playing without him anyway. I'm through a lot of my buys. Week 9 is going to be rough, actually. That's my last week or last rough bye week. But yeah, it's going to hurt. I give Foster credit that probably his last time in a Killers uniform. He went out with style, at least, with 17 points.
Yeah.
I'll give him credit on that. A TFFL Hall of Famer. We're going to miss him, but I think we can survive without him. And to Chief's point, I do have some ammunition that I am going to unload at some point.
For Blue.
Not for Blue.
Maybe only the first and 1 second for Blue.
To quickly answer my own question, in 2015, I think the Killers are obviously going to be okay. They're 7-0 already. They've got the ammunition to go add to their team. But 2016, for those of us who are rooting against the Killers, to finally let somebody else win, this is going to be a much different looking team. If you assume perhaps that Marshawn Lynch maybe doesn't come back next year, Foster's obviously not going to be a keeper again. Romo gone, not going to be a keeper again. Brandon Marshall, not a strong keeper perhaps as he gets older. We can take solace in that perhaps. Okay, off the field, the big news in the TFFL was the Tony Romo trade. We'll talk a little more, obviously, about the Giant Killers in this respect, but I think this is a lot about the Sponge Fishermen, essentially a second rounder for Romo. Chief, your game recap of your own game in the commissioner's report was incredible, and just every possible way Nick could have screwed up his lineup or been screwed by bye weeks and such happened. So as crushed as you must have been by your team's inability to overcome the Devils under those conditions, how do you turn around and make a trade that suggests optimism for a 2015 title run?
Let's just throw one more log on that fire on the Devils. The one good thing he did do was put in the IR claim for Stephon Diggs. Of course, I did too. And for the first time all year, I was one spot behind him instead of one spot ahead of him in the order. It's just one more thing that's the matchup going on. He needed a receiver. He was down to he would have had to start Philip Dorsett. I mean, that's how bad it was. So he needed to pick up a receiver, and I guess he was reading the sportsline.com recommendations and grabbed that one. So yeah, frustrating. To answer your question, for the sake of this discussion, let's assume I'm out of the playoff picture this year. I look at the league and I see 3/4 of them are either 3-4 and 4-3, and I don't believe that I'm out of contention at this point. But let's say I am. Let's say this move is for the future only. Okay. It seems like the biggest direction the criticism's coming from is I could have got a younger quarterback. I'm getting a guy who's, I think, will be 36 when next year starts, 35 or 36 when next season starts, who doesn't have a lot of time left. Now I've been better served by going with a Ryan Tannehill or a Jameis Winston or a Cam Newton or a Tyrod Taylor. Look, I'm not concerned about having a quarterback 10 years from now. I'm not looking for a 10-year starter. Just let me tell you, there's exactly one quarterback in the TFFL who I feel confident is a 10-year starter. His name's Andrew Luck. He's not available. The next great quarterback is not in the league yet. And I look at my team, and I'm not going through a rebuilding. I love my team outside the quarterback position. I think I have an enviable top 3 running backs of McCoy, Ingram, and Ivory. I love the Cooper and Brandon Cooks, young wide receiver tandem. And I'm ready to jump in next year, and I feel more confident that I'm going to get elite quarterback play from Tony Romo over the next 2 or 3 years than anybody that was mentioned on the emails. And that's just I don't think Cam Newton's going to outscore him the next 2-3 years. I don't think that Tyrod Taylor, who's been getting cut for the last 3 years, is anything to write home about. Jameis Winston, maybe. Maybe he turns it on and he becomes an elite fantasy quarterback. I don't see it. So really the question becomes is, did I overpay? I think is the valid criticism. And really only Berto knows whether I overpaid or not. And maybe I did. But, it's just the way I don't enjoy the negotiation process. I found this is what he's worth to me. Do we have a deal or do we not? I don't want to go back for 7 emails trying to, get everything just right, and everybody wins a little bit and loses a little bit. So for a second round pick, I'm looking at last year's draft. We had guys like Charles Johnson, Marquez Colston, Alfred Blue, Larry Fitzgerald obviously is the outlier there. Dwayne Allen, Danny Woodhead, and a few rookies. Then you look at the 7th round, and you got Roddy White, Carlos Williams, Kyle Randolph, Stevie Johnson, Pierre Garçon, Austin Safarian Jenkins. It's really a large difference between those 2 rounds as far as the talent taken. So, I feel really good about it. I feel really good about returning the nucleus next year, with Tony Romo on the field. I've got I have 10 touchdowns or 11 touchdowns in 7 games from Eli Manning right now. That's just not good. 2 games he scored 0 beginning last week. So he's either on or off, and I just can't deal with this inconsistency anymore. I'd rather get a guy who's going to get 10 to 16, the occasional 25 points, then have to deal with a 2 or 4 or 6, that I seem to be getting from Eli. I felt good about Eli coming into the season. I thought they'd have Victor Cruz back at some point. It didn't work out. So I feel good. Tony Romo can stay healthy, and that's the other if. With Dez Bryant and Terrence Williams looks a lot better as a number 2 receiver, and Jason Witten. I think he's going to score points for me. So I feel good about it. And soliloquy.
That's a great argument. I mean, I've often told Berto that Tony Romo is a great fantasy quarterback. He scores points. I think that what you're hearing from people is a sense that they don't see Tony Romo as a long-term solution. But you make a good argument that maybe for at least 3 years he could be. In which case, that price is probably a fair price.
I think it's a fine trade. I think that if Berto got a second out of Chief instead of a third or whatever, I don't have a problem with what Chief paid. I have a problem that he got him from Berto, and Berto gets an extra draft pick. But that's just selfish reasons. I think it's a fine trade, and I agree with Chief that he's not as any further away than most of us, and the windows in this league are so small to win. We'll see. We'll see, but I think it's a fine move.
Yeah. It was, to Chief's point, it was a pretty painless negotiation process, so that was good. But I was on record saying I wanted to get younger. Obviously Chief doesn't have the same other concerns about age in other positions that I do. So, I already was on record saying Dalton was the guy I think going forward. So, it's fine. What I'm hearing from Chief is that it's not really a trade for this year because Romo's not going to play until week 11. It could be. We'll see what happens.
Right.
But it's a trade, maybe not even for 2017, but it's at least a trade for 2016, and Chief thinks he can win in 2016.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I'll take more Ralph's stance. I think it was a little bit not quite as heavy, but I thought it was a lot to pay for an injured quarterback. I think it's also amazing that when you look at Berto, he basically flips Romo for Dalton and he picks up a second for a fourth. I mean, fantastic. Here's a guy who's an injured quarterback who's 35, and he ends up basically trading up in the draft and getting a guy who's 25. I think it's a great move for Berto. I guess we'll see what happens with Chief. I guess the flip side is that Chief had a chance to keep Rivers last year, and now Rivers is doing great, and maybe that wasn't the best strategy, but that's always obviously hindsight's 20/20, and we could go around the league and
Delta was undrafted
and talk about that stuff, So I could have grabbed Rivers at the end of the second round with the first quarterback taken. The only thing is he had the same bye week as Ryan, so. But who knows? Who knows? We'll see how it works out.
Rivers this year is doing the same thing he did the last 2. He was great in September, October, and disappeared. Like 0, 1, 2, 3 points in November and December.
Right.
I agree. Right now, it looks like I should have kept him. But again, and you said right then that hindsight's 2020. Andy Dalton was undrafted, was picked up FA week 3 or something like that. So
this is a revenge game for Phillip Rivers this week against the Sponge. Mongols against the Sponge. Rivers will be in.
Yeah, on Andy Dalton, I think you have to acknowledge this guy did go undrafted, was a free agent. He's had flashes before. I'm not convinced he's necessarily the Giant Killers quarterback next year. I'm not sure he's going to look like an elite quarterback who you necessarily want to keep, but we'll see if Berto has 7 better options. Chief, I got to ask, any regret at this point about trading away Tom Brady, before giving up on Rivers?
That'd be very easy to do. They're both pretty much in the same spot. Listen, Brady's playing better now than at any point in the last 3 years. I had 2 keeper quarterbacks. I traded the one with the more trade value, and it's as easy as that. If I had a crystal ball, yeah, of course. If I don't shudder to think what it'll cost me, I would have, talked to Kramer. So what does it cost to get Brady? But I don't even want to know what he's going to come back with. So yeah, I think hindsight would have kept Brady. But again, I had to move Brady or Rivers. I got a lot better return on Brady. And I got Mark Ingram and the pick. So I think I would do that again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of amazing just to look at the quarterbacks right now. The top quarterbacks: Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, Carson Palmer, and Andy Dalton.
There is a lesson here about veteran quarterbacks. So whether it's Roethlisberger or Carson Palmer for the Aliens, Tom Brady. There are all sorts of examples around the league of the Mongols getting Phillip Rivers. Go with the veteran quarterback. That somehow a lot of these guys tend to be available. Are better bets to win now than some of the guys you look at and you're thinking, no, I can invest in him and he'll be my future quarterback. Well, you can't wait 3 years and keep a guy for 3 years. I had to give up on Cam Newton. He just was not delivering.
Right. Hey, final thought on Romo. He's a 2-time Pac Bowl winner.
Yeah.
He just needed to move off of the franchise he was on before the Killers. That franchise couldn't win, and he won a couple Pac Bowls with the Killers. And I wish him the best of luck on the Sponge.
That sounds a lot like what you said about Phillip Rivers too.
The K-Wheels picked up Peyton Manning in the 3rd round of the draft a few years ago. These great veteran quarterbacks end up available in the last few years of their career and can do great.
How many rosters has Andy Dalton been on since he's been the TFFL? Probably 6 different teams has probably had him by now. You just don't know when the switch is going to go, or maybe there's a better offensive scheme this year. Maybe they adjusted a few things. I don't know. Maybe it's all going to fall apart starting next week. We don't know.
He's had healthy receivers.
To your point about Newton, you're right. If I traded for Tyrod Taylor, can I really justify keeping him at the end of the year? Or Jameis Winston, or even Ryan Tannehill? I think the only time we've seen that recently was when the Mongols kept Blake Bortles for whatever reason this past year. That's the only time I can remember protecting a quarterback. It wasn't going to be your starter. It's hard to justify doing that.
Hey, let's stay in your division here a little bit. We just talked about the Killers, the Sponge. Let's move over to the Hams here. Try to talk about everybody on the panel briefly. We're not going to do a full eye on the TFFL with you, Michael.
That's good.
But I do, as long as we've got you on the panel here and cornered, I want to give our panelists a chance maybe to throw out one question each, if they've got one, about the Hams, about your ownership style, about what lies ahead for this franchise.
Sure.
Chief
just ran away.
Yeah, Chief's going and getting his notes. He's got a whole list of grievances. Berto, we're not going to call this an official I segment, but since it's sort of one, I'll let you kick it off if you got a question.
Well, I had a few questions, so
right.
I have a few, but I'll start with this one. Michael, obviously your team is not doing what you thought they'd be doing. The Antonio Brown was a huge pickup. The wide receivers look stacked. Things just aren't panning out. What's the biggest letdown of the Hams this year, and do you think you can overcome that biggest letdown to make the playoffs?
I think that answer is pretty obvious to everybody. I mean, and it's obviously C.J. Anderson. It's a huge letdown. I'd also say Matt Ryan's been a huge letdown as well. So if you look at my scoring, I'm number 1 in wide receiver scoring. I'm number 12 in running back scoring, and I'm number 10 in quarterback scoring. So, I think, I guess I'm surprised by both the quarterback and the running back position. I thought I would have been, at least somewhere in the mid pack for running backs, and sort of somewhere up in the same for quarterback. So I don't have any plans. We'll play it out, see if people turn some things around. Ryan struggled before over periods, and he's come back and done pretty well. So I'm not really panicked there. With the running backs, looks like CJ's going to go to the bench, and I think this week I have Blue in there against Tennessee, so we'll see what he does. Gore has been a disappointment more for the fact that that Indy team has been disappointing. He's been playing pretty well. So I don't think I don't think there's any plans to do anything. I'm not really active in looking for trades. I'm gonna play it how it goes and see what happens. But I think that I've also left a lot of points on the bench in the first couple weeks. David Johnson's been frustrating. I think he might be a top 10 running back right now in scoring, but you never know what he's going to get. So it's hard to put him in there. But I don't know at this point. Maybe I do. I'm pretty happy with Eifert. So I think I have some talent. We can turn things around, but not the results that I wanted this point in the season.
Yeah, those receivers. I mean, just name recognition alone. I mean, yeah, your number 1 receivers, but Hopkins, Brown, and Johnson is that's quite a lineup there at wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hopkins has been great. So
Mike,
he's been the best of the bunch.
Is there in the last, say, year, say from mid-season last year to now, including the off season, is there something you would have done differently? A trade that was presented to you, or some inquiry that you made? Obviously, you made a huge move in getting Antonio Brown, a couple other smaller ones before the draft this year. But is there anything that you didn't do that you wish you had?
Well, I think that'll be the same answer as the last question, more or less. I would have traded CJ. I mean, obviously, in hindsight, I think you could look at those things and you see when somebody's hyped and you want to believe the hype, and not that I wasn't all in on it, but when you think about it and you take your emotions out of it, I should have probably traded them. I could have put him in the package for Antonio Brown and probably taken one of those number 1 picks out. Maybe the number 1 pick and Bernard, who's playing pretty well this year. So I think it's been a really great trade for Kramer so far. We'll see how it works out, but that would be the obvious one. I gave up a lot for Brown. I think he's going to be worth it in the long run. But if I could have redone that, I would have included CJ and taken some of that other stuff off the table. It would have been an obvious one. But that's hindsight.
All right, Michael. Let me take you through. I don't mean to be too critical here, but we're going to put you on the spot. Let me take you through your first rounds of the last 4 drafts. No first-round pick in 2015 because of Antonio Brown. 2014 at number 2 overall, you take Bishop.
Why don't you go in the other order? Start at 2012 if you're going to go through it. because
All right.
a lot of 2012 affects what I do in 2014 or 2013. So what I'm talking about is, I took so.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, definitely a regret. If you're going to ask about, we could start with Bernard.
Well,
I obviously could have taken Bell. If I took Bell, things shake out a lot different, right? So, but we could go through it.
well, let me go through this real quick, and I'll lead you into a friendlier question. But I have to set the stage here. 2012, then. And part of the story here is how early you picked in many of these cases, because we talk about how drafting at the end of the first round isn't necessarily going to yield you a strong talent. But number 7 overall in 2012, Jacquizz Rodgers. 2013, number two overall, Giovanni Bernard, right ahead of Le'Veon Bell. The other thing you did in 2013 was trade up to the top of the second round with me, giving up, I think, 2 third-round picks or something to take receiver Mike Williams, who flamed out in a hurry.
It wasn't Mike Williams. It was Wallace.
That's the next draft. So 2014, there we go. Bishop Sankey at number 2 overall, passing on Jeremy Hill, passing on Mike Evans, passing on Devontae Freeman. I don't necessarily fault you for not taking Freeman that high, but just letting you know. Number 4 overall is Andre Williams, still ahead of Jeremy Hill, Devontae Freeman. So my question, though, is really, how does your running back core shape up going forward? Because a lot of these guys haven't panned out. Frank Gore is getting old. I don't know if he's a keeper for next year. C.J. Anderson, I don't know if he looks like a keeper. I mean, who are the keepers going to be?
So that's the friendlier question.
Welcome to the hot seat, Michael.
I'm asking. You must have a strategy.
Who are the keepers going to be, if you don't mind?
Well,
7.
see, I think the other question would have been, so to justify picks. I mean, so last year going into the draft, I can't really take Jeremy Hill because I have Bernard.
Right.
So that eliminates Hill. In hindsight, should I have taken?
Berto would disagree with me on that point.
Well, I'll say this about some trade conversations last year when Williams was stepping up and was going to get a shot at the number 1 running back spot. Berto offered me Hill for Williams. So I certainly wasn't the only one who's thinking Williams could do something and could have a breakout. You never see somebody signing somebody like a Vereen or Jennings staying around. So I don't think Williams is done, although it doesn't look very good. I mean last year's draft was pretty bad. A lot of good players, and I got Sankey and Williams, who seem to be 2 flameouts. But it's hard to, if you look back on it, it's hard to be too critical of the judgments at the time. And I think you try to make the best choice that you can at the time with the information that you have. And I wasn't, I was trying to trade that Sankey, picked everybody who would listen, and nobody wanted to trade up for that number 2 spot. I wasn't crazy about him, but I figured that I could do with him what I did, which was to trade him for something that was somewhat valuable towards the end of the year. So going forward, we'll see. I like David Johnson, so we'll see what happens with Chris Johnson. I don't think CJ's out of the picture. People want to write him off as a bust. I don't think that that this has totally been his fault. It's certainly more on the offense. It's certainly more, I think, on Peyton Manning than it is necessarily on CJ. And he's a restricted free agent after this year, so and I think Hillman's an unrestricted free agent. So we'll see what happens there. I think somebody might give him a shot. Somebody might give big money to Hillman, and CJ sticks around. I don't know. We'll see. Strange things happen. And then if you look at the rest of the roster, I think Forte is going to be gone from Chicago. So Langford's looked all right. So Forte's an unrestricted free agent. He's not going to resign with Chicago. So I think I have some decent talent there. We'll see how it works out.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I like your squad. I mean, they're the best in the league.
What's that?
Your wide receivers, with Calvin and Antonio Brown and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, that's fantastic. And Matt Ryan, I think, is a quarterback that everybody looks at and says, yeah, he could be one of the elite quarterbacks, and we keep waiting for him to do it, but maybe he will. I think you put together a pretty good squad there. Running backs in this league are tough, and as soon as you think you got a couple, I mean, I'm questioning DeMarco Murray and how valuable he is, and I'm sure it's the same thing with C.J. Anderson in that, hey, he showed last year he's pretty good given the right scheme, and I'm sure you want to blame Peyton for everything. I mean, I do. But CJ, for whatever reason, hasn't delivered this year so far, and maybe he needs to change the scenery. Who knows? But the Hams have got plenty of ammo for their keeper list. I think the question really is can they get it together this year and make a run? And are you willing maybe to use CJ as a chip down the line to try and get a piece that can actually work for you, or Langford for that matter? To try and make it happen this year. I mean, how committed are you? And I guess maybe that's what we're going to find out over the next 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, I think CJ's toxic right now. I don't think anybody's going to pay anything for him. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's going anywhere. I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Certainly, I listen to offers, but I don't think he's going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. No, you're probably right. You can't get the value you want for him, but at some point you have to decide. As the SoCo is going to be tight, and I mean, Chiefs the bottom team right now, and he's only a game behind you. But as we said, the lead team's only 2 games ahead of you, so there's still plenty of room to catch up. Somebody's going to make a move probably, and
Yeah, but I mean, what do you get? I mean, who's out there that's really that's available?
Dude, we can have this conversation every single year, and we all know.
Especially if you're looking for running backs. I mean, running backs are impossible to get. So, I doubt I do anything much this year in terms of trades. But who knows? You never know.
Well, Berto's gonna put forward some trades at some point here, and I mean, he's got that extra second now from with Romo. I mean, there's some that second round pick that Berto picked up. One of the surest things we can come to an agreement on is Berto's not going to have that come draft.
Why not?
You might not have it next webcast.
Right.
Yeah. No, there's going to be a move made, and that's what I'm saying is Berto's 7-0, and if there's of course anything can happen in a given week, but if somebody's going to really put together a roster that's going to beat him and compete where where he's scoring at, probably need another weapon.
Michael, I guess a follow-up to all this. So you're number 1 in receiving and number 12 in running backs. Tyler Eifert's been great this year. Is there any thought of moving one of those wide receivers for a stud running back and packaging that, shoring up your running backs, putting Eifert at your 3rd wide receiver? Would that make your lineup better?
What are you offering?
I don't know.
Who do you want?
We'll talk about the Webcast.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll listen to anything. I don't think, especially right now, Brown. I don't think I'd really entertain an offer on Brown because I think people won't want to pay for what he's worth because he hasn't been scoring all that much. Calvin's out there. I'd discuss Calvin. But I don't know if I'll come to terms with price. He's only 30 years old, so we'll see. I'd be open to it. I have a great number 2 tight end that I just picked up in free agency. Barnage.
The unstoppable Gary Barnage. Also 30.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. I want to try to keep us to an hour here. We're in danger, I think, of going over that if we don't move on. Real quick topic, and then we're going to get into a big fun one that'll take us probably 10 minutes or so. Real quick, take a look at the schedules on the site. I asked you to do this. You pull them up. What happens first? Do the 0-7 AMPAC get a win, or do the 7-0 Giant Killers lose a game?
Giant Killers lose. AMPAC aren't going to win a game. They don't want to win a game. They don't have the horse to win a game. And I think in about 2 more weeks, the best players will be playing elsewhere anyhow. Burrow's going to lose. I don't know when. I think he's got games against the Lizards and the Mongols remaining. I was looking at this a little bit earlier. If Ralph wins the game, I'll be surprised.
Phil.
It'll be by accident.
The Killers are going to lose first because the Packers they don't care, and I think that they're going to struggle to win unless they come across another opponent who's struggling as much as they are, and they just get lucky one day. Burrow's got some games he can lose. Burrow can lose to the Fats this week. The Fats, he's got the Mongols and the Beavers coming up. And he's got to play me again. I want to beat him too. So Burrow's going to have more than one loss this year, and I don't think the Packers. I sort of hope they get one win just so their season is remarkably bad, but not recordable for posterity of any kind.
Why would you care about that? Come on.
I don't want the Packers to be 0-13 because then Ralph will crow about how he's if he's bad, he's the best at being bad.
I can look at that.
That is a great line.
Yeah, but that's Ralph. He's going for the superlative of whatever he's doing.
Michael, do you have an answer?
I can't disagree with the crowd. Ralph's got a pretty tough schedule coming up. So Lizards, Mongols, Beavers, Wheels, Devils, Killers.
There's not a win on that list.
It's tough. I mean, maybe the I don't know, Lizards, maybe.
Yeah, they have a brutal schedule.
With Luck struggling, maybe he could get a win against the Lizards, but yeah, I don't know. I'll probably take I'll take the Killers, lose first.
I would have to agree. I'm a nervous 7-0 team.
Oh, come on.
I am losing Foster. I'm losing Vincent Jackson for a few weeks. I have issues.
Yeah, this is a clean sweep. I mean, the AMPAC have a brutal schedule. I do fear they could go 0-13. I think Berto will lose a game or two here before Ralph wins, but we'll see. Two streaks still very much alive as we go into week 8. All right, so the big topic of the week, and Berto, I want you to keep this to 10 minutes or so. We'll all get to chime in, I'm sure. Our annual mid-season trade forecast, trades that should happen.
I have a graphic too.
Nice. This has been a great segment that actually has prompted trades in years past. Let's spark some activity here, Berto.
All right, so I'm going to go through this. So just some ground rules. We tried to hit every team. Looking at the records, taking into account making the playoffs or not making the playoffs, accounting for age and injuries, and ignored propensity of some teams to never trade. We're forcing a few trades here. And I will also provide the date and time when these trades will actually happen.
That's great.
Good, so it's getting too easy.
Trades for entertainment purposes only. All right. Here we go. So I'll read this down. You guys take notes, and then we can hash anything out at the end. So, Week 10, 4:20 p.m. Saturday. The 6-3 Lizards, very much in the conference hunt, will finally be turning a corner. The Pac Bowl runners-up from 2014 realize they need to make a bold move to make another push. Running back being a weakness. They send Cam Newton, Carlos Williams, a number 1 in 2016, plus a number 3 in 2016 to the K-Wheels for DeMarco Murray. But the K-Wheels are still in it. They're not dead yet. Sitting at 4-5 The Wheels want to move off from DeMarco, setting their sights on a bigger package, moving to the AMPAC. The Wheels send the AMPAC 2 number ones in 2016 for West, Jimmy Graham, and Ryan Tannehill. The tight end position being a headache for many years for the Czar. He also gets West, who's proved himself by week 10, who will be the eventual heir apparent to Jamal Charles. And Tannehill also continues to play well after this good week's performance. Moving on to the next one. Saturday, week 11, 11:42 p.m. The Beavers are making a move. After ripping the Sens, Wheels, and AMPAC, the Beavers now control their own wild card berth, sitting at 6-4. 2 more wins and they're in. 3 more, and they can be a conference champion. They need to beat the Mongols in week 12 to secure the SoCo East. Unlike 2014, the Beavers are looking to spend. They sent the 2015 number 1 and 2016 number 2 to the floundering interdivision rival Devils for Matt Forte and late picks back. Sunday, week 11, 10:10 a.m. Not to be outdone, the Mongols look at the big move the Beavers make, now realize they must act. Also sitting at 6-4, they see a huge opportunity to win their first Southern Conference title in, listen to this, 18 years, since 1997, the last time the Mongols won the conference title. They push all in, sending a number 1 2016, plus a number 1 in 2017, plus a number 3 in 2016 for Antonio Brown to go with the now healthy Des Bryant and Randall Cobb. Kerry's thrilled to have a Steeler, and the Mongols are stacked for years to come. The Hams, sitting at 4-6, cut their losses and realize making the playoffs is not realistic this year. Looking up at the upstart Sens at 6-4, the Hams continue to make moves, also shedding Alfred Blue to the Killers for a 2017 fourth, and sending the disappointing C.J. Anderson to the Sens for a 2016 number 2. The Hams have a lot of ammo moving forward, obviously. Sunday, week 11, 11:13 a.m. Not to be outdone, the Sens push forward, realizing they may need to win out to take home their first SoCo crown since 2006. They also strike a deal with the AMPAC, plucking Eric Decker in a player swap, sending Dorial Green Beckham to the AMPAC. Let's see. Sunday, week 9. At this point, the division everyone focused on is the tough NoCo West. All 3 teams sit at 5-3, and it will come down to the wire. The Aliens strike first with the AMPAC. Fresh off the Blunt deal, they send Eric Ebron and Carlos Hyde to the AMPAC. The Aliens are now running back rich as Christine Michael starts to pan out for Keenan Allen and a number 2 in 2017. Sunday, week 10, that's the next to move. Very much in the hunt. They realize a solid lineup could be bolstered by one more serviceable running back. Again, the AMPAC are the trading partner. The AMPAC ship Chris Johnson to the Fats for a number 4 in 2017, plus Devontae Adams. In related news, Ralph forgives Rob for not showing up at the draft.
That'll never, ever happen.
Yeah, that's the most unrealistic thing you've said yet.
That was brilliant, Bruno. Thank you.
All right, finally, the Killers are getting concerned about the injuries. Foster, Vincent Jackson. So they returned to the trade that they made just a week prior. By the way, this will happen next Wednesday during the webcast, week 9. They return to the team that they just made a trade with in week 8, to the Sponge. The Sponge lose in week 8, unfortunately, to the Mongols, the surging Mongols, officially ending the Sponge's season. It's a bit late for Romo in 2015, but Chief has high hopes for him in 2016 and 2017. But the Killers send a number 1 in 2016, plus a number 2 in 2016, plus a number 3 in 2017 for Mark Ingram.
Wow.
That's a lot for Mark Ingram.
That's it.
Wow. Very well done, Bert.
Wow, Berto. I missed one thing. Tell me one thing. Sorry, I had one question mark. In the
Yeah.
trade with the Aliens acquiring Keenan Allen and a number 2, they gave up Carlos Hyde and what else?
Carlos Hyde and Eric Ebron.
Ebron, okay. Wow, that's really great.
So the one question I really scribbled down was the K-Wheels end up with both Cam Newton and Ryan Tannehill to add to Teddy Bridgewater.
Yep. You had
No,
me.
I don't have. No.
I think that's how it ended up. But
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So that part won't happen, but
That's what they call it fantasy for.
No, but I think a lot of these are very legitimate, and
Yeah.
that could come to pass. As these teams, as things shake out, the next 2 weeks, teams are going to decide whether they're making a push or they're folding. And as we all know, there's going to probably be not enough inventory to get the trades done that maybe people want to happen. So people are going to overpay, and certain teams are going to, not be willing to do it until later.
God, I'd love to see that many big trades happen down the stretch. That would be chaos.
Yeah.
All right, Chief, Michael, any quick comments?
I think my head's still spinning.
Yeah.
No, I wrote them all down here, and and some of these are good. Like the Sens trading Eric Decker to the AMPAC from Dorial Green Beckham. I mean, that could happen. There's no reason that could.
Yeah, spot on.
What am I getting for blue?
You're getting a number 4. I think that's way cheap.
Yeah, I agree.
You understand that it's way cheap because Berto's the buyer.
Exactly. And 2017, I don't think that's gonna fly.
I also think Berto traded away his first, second, third, and fourth pick in the next 2 drafts.
Yeah,
that I totally believe.
That was the first, and second in 2016, and a third in 2017. So that would still leave me a number 2 in 2016, and a number 1 in 2000.
No, you gave that to the Sponge for Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
It was a 1. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
1, 2, and a 3 in 17. And you gave up your 3 in 16. Where?
I have an extra 2 in 2016, though.
so you'll have a second round.
All right, yeah, you.
I would have my second and third next year.
That's all you do.
Details. You don't have a lot of draft picks.
All right.
How about the Matt Forte?
That was a very solid.
Go with Matt Forte.
Sure, no doubt that'll happen.
No. Beavers aren't doing that trade. It's just not in their DNA. It's just not in their DNA.
What was it for? First round pick?
First and second, 1 and 2.
I think it's a little rich.
Mm-hmm.
A number 1 in 2016 and a number 2 in 2017.
Yeah.
That's a fine offer.
That's
All
fine.
right. So, Chief, unless it breaks your heart, I'm going to skip over our Week 8 schedule recap.
That's fine.
People
That's the least inspiring thing that happens here.
People can find that on the website. We don't need to debate a game of the week necessarily in the interest of time here. So let me give you your trivia answer before we forget.
Oh, yes.
Get your answers out here. Again, we're looking for the 3 TFFL franchises that have a single 25-point or under performance in their entire history. We've got the Sponge, Ampac, and Lizards from the Chief. All right? Ampac, Sponge, and, well, I'm just going to tell you the answer here. We got all 3 of them are on our panel here tonight.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
The Sponge,
Yes.
Yep.
Killers,
I got the Sponge.
and the Hams.
Oh, I didn't get the Hams.
I got one right. I got the
Somebody got
hat.
this right. Who is that? Is that Michael Giovenco?
Mike.
Yes.
He said he gets them all right.
Michael got it all right.
He says he gets them all right.
I told you I got them all right. I know my history.
He may or not be Googling them, but, you know.
Yeah, no looking at the sheet, Michael.
Excellent work, Michael.
But my first question led me to that answer, which was, if you don't have a long history, you don't have as many chances to score that few points. And I knew I only had one.
That's a smart way to look at it.
Yeah, I had the Sponge and Killers too, but I selected the Ampac. But
I had the Ampac.
good thought process.
Yeah.
All right, Chief, when we turn it over to you, you could bring up some games of the week you want to talk about, a rant, some reminders. Take it away.
I'm very happy, Stick, that you've been paid for draft weekend, and coming into week 8. That makes me thrilled. Michael, I don't know if you need things that I can help you with, or if your email spurred any kind of payment activity.
We got some stuff trickling in.
All right. That's good. Again, we're more than halfway through the season. I find it humorous that we're not going to pay our friends for money they put down on our behalf. It takes less than 5 minutes to affect. Patriots and Dolphins tomorrow. Burrow, make sure Gronkowski's out of your lineup. Actually, I can't say that. I want the Killers to run the table now because I need all the help I can get from other teams losing. I don't think we're close enough to any kind of trade deadlines or FAIR deadlines to worry about right now. Slim pickings out there in the FAIR wire. There's no Chikandrick West, no Stephon Diggs this week. Who almost every team put in for last week, last 2 weeks. So no, I'm good. Thanks to Mike for joining us tonight. I'm glad the other Mike got his issues straightened out. Stick, I'm loving the new camera angle. I think it's all for the best.
I missed the nostril cam for one.
Bring back the nostril cam.
Hey, if Kramer is happy, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
Kramer's never happy.
No.
All right. Well, we got two big bye weeks coming up, 8 and 9. I know for the Aliens and for a lot of teams, we're all going to be missing some key players and a lot of players. We've got some big injuries adding up week in and week out. So this is where we really test ourselves. Still some big interconference games going on here. I think we'll have we know who's going to win the NOCO conference, but I think the SOCO conference race is going to start to shake out here. Chief, good luck. I still believe you got a shot, but yeah, you got to start winning at some point.
I've got zero margin for error at this point. Losing to a far inferior team last week was kind of a gut punch there. You figure you have a 1-game margin, you can't spend it on the Dirt Devils. So yeah. So Hank, how are we doing on the hang your hat pool?
Yeah, I got to get an update. I'll get that around for you this evening or tomorrow.
But we're up like $2,000, right?
Yeah, we're killing it. We are still waiting on Vegas. What's that?
I'm 6-1.
Yeah, you lost the first time this week, right?
What's that?
You lost this week?
No, I won.
No, I lost to fall to 6.
Sorry, Stick lost, so now Michael and Stick are tied for the lead.
I'm seriously bringing down the average this year. Man, probably 2-6.
I will get that.
It's hard to do. It's hard to pick that many wrong in a season.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I have to say that it was awesome seeing Todd Bowles kick a field goal.
Yes.
Well, that was I was going to take the Jets too, and I switched it.
I had the Jets plus the points.
Yep, me too.
That was a smart play.
Chief, by the way, I loved your comment on the chat that you stood up and cheered.
That is a true story. I forgot everything except that I was losing to Nick.
That's fantastic. That's a classic.
Michael Giovanco, thank you for joining us. I do apologize. My question about your running backs was really intended to give you a chance to share some excitement about David Johnson in particular, who I erred in saying you didn't have a 2015 first-round pick. He was number 12 overall. And honestly, in answer to Berto's question about what your biggest disappointment has been, it really could be that 1-point loss to the Mongols. You know, if you're 4-3, we're not having this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd still be 11th in scoring. So, you know, record's the record. But if you're not scoring points, it's not going to last very long.
Well, you're still very much in it. Good luck. Phil, I know you're feeling like you're in a must-win situation here.
Yes, I play the Aliens this week, and I
wish you good luck.
need to beat you. Let's go.
Big game. And Berto, I don't think I want you to get to 13-0, but I'll wish
you win this week.
I wish you continued good luck. 'Cause I know you're battling a lot of injuries and a transition at quarterback. It's kind of fun to watch you figure out new ways to win here. So keep it up for at least a little while longer. All right, good luck to everybody. Hopefully we'll have everybody as happy panelists next week except for Hank. Good luck in week 8, and we're going to start talking about really the stretch run the last 5 weeks of the season.